You know, we're gonna pop in first time Mondays. Y'all know we go hour. So we want to say welcome back to the 2021. We've been off for about what 3 months?
No, we stopped in November.
2 months. 2 months.
Yeah, 2 months.
And you know, as y'all know, we want to always work to build more accountable relationships. And this year is going to be a little different. We used to go an hour and a half. Now we're going to go an hour. It used to be every Monday. Now it's every other Monday, because we got a little busier. So, we want to still dedicate some time to having these discussions, but at the same time, allow our builders to monopolize our time as well. So today's topic, as y'all know, is about relationships being about stability and not about change.
Yeah, so basically, we're going to talk about how change is always occurring around us. As humans, we're forced to adapt or get left behind, basically. Why do we enter relationships? We enter relationships for security, dependability, to connect, and more. All these attributes are acquired through stability. The idea that we are building relationships with people we never want to change. We are building relationships with people we recognize day in and day out. So we're going to go further into this discussion. So I'm glad you guys joined us today. So we're going to take it from here. Well, Aziz is going to take it from here.
So the process usually when we enter a relationship, whether it be friendship or partnership, is typically, get to know the person, ask questions, meet the people around them that they're close to. They meet the people around you that you're close to. Y'all build a bond and y'all decide whether y'all want to enter each other's lives. Once the commitment is set, which is saying a person is your friend or saying a person's a romantic partner and y'all single or whatever it is. Now you're in the process of maintaining what you don't want to change, because you should have had the discussions about what you're not willing to change, your boundaries, the things that make you want to be around the person, make you want to actually commit to the person and have a lifelong commitment with the person. Think about the couple that gets up every day for the last 20 years and has coffee and breakfast before and have a good discussion before they go to work, like clockwork every day. Once that changes, or once you miss a day, 2 days, 3 days, you realize the relationship is changing. That's the first time you realize the relationship is changing. Think about the friends that call each other on the way to work every morning for 10 years. The first time you miss that call, the first week you missed that call, you realize there's something wrong with the friendship. You realize something's going on. Think of the I love you at the end of the text, a text message for the last 5 years. Once that I love you doesn't show up at the end of text message anymore, you realize the distance is there. We live in a society that promotes change all the time. They promote change. We need to change. We need to learn how to change. What we need to learn how to do is adapt when we lose focus of the destination. The destination is commitment and to go through life together. When we lose track of that, we now have to adapt, which forces us to attempt to change. But what we're really doing is trying to maintain what we already have. So what we want to ask everybody, and obviously Darrell's the only one that's on the panel. Usually we have more people on the panel, but we could ask everybody on the side. You could chime in. What are some of the things that you wouldn't change about yourself?
I mean, I'll jump in and start with that one.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because I think over the past couple of years I've been trying to change, and I don't know if my change was for the better, so to speak. Okay. I'm trying to change me. Like, for example, one thing, like, I'm saying, to answer your question, the biggest thing for me I'm not changing is working out. I would not change that for anybody. In my opinion, it's a stress reliever, and now it's part of my routine. Health is wealth. You know what I'm saying? So I definitely wouldn't change that. And I'm a big sports fanatic. So anyone I'm with, now I'm not saying they have to be as diehard as I am with certain things as far as me balling or me watching football or basketball, but I would have to be with someone who's willing to at least try to get into sports, a little bit like that. So that's me. Sports and working out are two things I'm not willing to change.
What would you say is one of the attributes? Like, a core value. When we say core value, we're talking about, obviously, this is accountable love. We talk about accountable relationships. So accountability is obviously a core value. Loyalty. Um, what would you say a core value is you wouldn't change? Because that's who we are as people. Our core values that we're not willing to change.
I think the word you just used, loyalty. I couldn't be with someone who's not loyal because I think that I'm a very loyal person, you know, all the way down to my core. I think that's in me, and I think it's always been in me. So once that loyalty is tested, or once that loyalty is not there, I think, you know what I mean, it's a drastic change in a relationship.
That's what's up. Jasmine said being around her main group and support. So elaborate on that. We don't want to put words in your mouth.
Hey, Lyric. See that
What's
you
going
joined.
on, Lyric? I see you.
Hmm.
What's happening?
Hey, 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 Happy New Year.
Happy New
My
Year.
camera is kind of sucky. That's why it's not on right now.
Okay, don't worry about it. We just
So what
happy you
is
came
what
to
is
join the
something you wouldn't
discussion.
change?
What's something that you wouldn't
You
change
guys are
about
talking.
yourself?
Um, I'm not changing my boundaries. You know, most people expect when they come into your life, it's like, okay, yes, you set these boundaries. You say that what you will and won't deal with, but I'm not them or I'm different. That's fine. You can be different, but my boundaries are still the same. You know,
Yeah, definitely.
I'm not changing what my hard note, like my limits, my hard nose. Um, outside of that and outside of, you know, what I require, I'm pretty much open to adapt to what's worth adapting to.
So what would you say an attribute when you walk in the door? What would be an attribute of yours a person would notice right off the bat in the beginning?
Emotional independence.
Emotional independence. Define that a little bit, because I mean that varies.
In the sense that I'm in full control of my emotions. My emotions don't depend on you. Most people are
Okay.
emotionally codependent. So anything that you do, anything that you say, where you go, how you react to something influences how they feel about everything. It like their emotions, the way that they move in the world is all dependent upon you. So for me, you know, that's not too much of a big thing for me.
Yeah, Jasmine
Anything
said,
wild.
I mean, I mean, I would say that that's emotional intelligence. And I think that's very important. And yeah, you shouldn't have to change that for anybody, because emotional intelligence is very important. It's having an understanding that you dictate your mood, you dictate your emotions, you dictate how you process things, and putting that in somebody else's lap. We see that that's being promoted a lot as well. Like, spare people's feelings, don't hurt people's feelings. And having a discussion may hurt somebody's feelings, but it starts the dialogue towards progression, and it starts the dialogue towards a bond. And if you're really discussing and having discussions with people who truly have an understanding of your intentions, you shouldn't have to worry about their emotions constantly. You should have to be focused on the destination and have the dialogue based on getting to that point, based on getting on the same page. And we definitely agree with that, being emotionally intelligent. As far as loyalty, what Darrell was saying, we definitely agree with loyalty, but it does depend on who you're loyal to.
Yeah, that's true too.
You
Yes.
get what I'm saying? Because a lot of people just, like what Lyric said, they use the word difference
Mhm.
to now make it a great thing, because we all different, we all think different. But to affect any change, we have to be on one accord.
Mhm.
We have to come to a common ground. We have to think similar. We have to be like-minded.
Mhm.
So if you're really truly going to affect change and you truly want your relationship to flourish, you have to be like-minded. So you got to find common ground. You have to have a new understanding that I was once I, but now I'm we.
Yeah.
Anytime you enter a relationship, once you have a friend and you decide this is my friend, I was once I, but now I'm a we. You know what I mean? And that's very important for people to have an understanding of. So when you're talking about loyalty, loyalty goes both ways as a relationship. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people who are loyal to people who are not loyal to them.
Mm.
There's a lot of people who aren't loyal to people, but they're loyal to themselves. We always hear people say, well, I'm finding me, I'm searching for me. You can't truly know who you are until you have great people around you to really challenge who you are, challenge the best of who you are. So it goes both ways. You can't be the best of yourself just by yourself, and you can't be the best of yourself just holding on to other people. You have to work in a relationship. Like they always say, actions speak louder than words. Why do we divide the two? Action, words with actions make you great. They're not something that's divided. So the fact that we put them in conflict, that's the problem. Mm-hmm. If you say something, do it. But don't just do it without saying, because then I can't hold you accountable because you never said it. So say you're going to show up and then show up. Everything we talk about is a relationship. It's all about connecting. So loyalty and what Lyric was saying about her boundaries, she's going to be loyal to her boundaries. So when she enters any relationship, first thing she's going to do is be loyal to her boundaries. So she's going to put that on the table and say, listen, this is my boundaries. Do you accept my boundaries? The other person's going to say, this is my boundaries. Can you work within those boundaries? They're not going to listen to change. The boundaries is what you're going to maintain. And you're going to live within those boundaries for the rest of the life. Because crossing those boundaries means ending the relationship, means hurting the relationships. And what is most important is allowing the relationship to flourish. So that's another idea or another example of maintaining what you signed on for. Remember the first time you met somebody, you had the butterflies and, you know, you have that passion and you have that fight and you're not accepting no for an answer and you're sitting down having discussions and y'all having dialogue for 7-8 hours and getting to really truly know each other. And you sign on because you believe that's what life's going to look like. Why are you not working to maintain that? Why as soon as somebody falls short, we talking about they're human and people need to change. People need to accept me for who I am. Who you was is who you showed them to be. That's who you signed on to be. So that's who you are, not who you was before you met them. It's who you signed on to be. That's who you are. That's who you promised to be. So people lose track of that. If you promise to be something that you're truly not, of course the relationship is going to fall apart. The person's you can't say the person's not accepting you. They're not accepting you that you didn't show them. They're not accepting the person that they didn't commit to. So understand everything you're doing, because the world is changing and because everything is changing around you, you're working to put your key in the same lock for the rest of your life and know that that's there. That's where the stability comes from. I can't hear you, Jerry. You're on mute.
That's why it's really important to have the discussions about, you know, all the things that you don't want to change about yourself and the things that you like about each other. So you guys can hold each other accountable within the relationship. Because if I say on one breath, I like the fact that you are a take charge person, and then a couple of years from then, or a couple of months from then, I'm annoyed that you're a take charge person, then that's a problem. Especially when I said I liked it, you know what I mean? Or I appreciated that about you. And I'm not saying that it won't. Sometimes a person can go a little overboard, or maybe they take charge in areas that they probably shouldn't be taking charge in. But the reality is that we were able to acknowledge it and have the conversation so that if we had to address it again, it's not a surprise. It's not like, well, this came out of left field. You said you liked it, or I didn't know what you liked. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't tell me that's something you liked about. When I said I liked it, you know what I mean? Or
Sorry.
It's not, it's if you guys never talk about it, then if you guys ever had to revisit it, you guys are going backwards instead of forward. So you could be a lot further within the relationship if you start from the beginning having those types of conversations. And not just, we meet a lot of people all the time where they say, it sounds good, the person that they think they are. Right. But in action and by continuing to speak to them and just living day to day, just really trying to get to know them, getting to know their friends and everything else, you realize that they are not quite the person they think they are.
Definitely. What do y'all think about what we connected on?
I mean, first thing comes to my mind is because you talked about friends and you're new with the person, and then you meet their friends, and you realize the person is different around their friends, or that person's circle is not for you. Now, at the same time, you signed on to be with that person, but you don't get along with their friends, and that's going to cause a conflict. So, how y'all feel about that?
I mean, now again, it depends on who. Like, you didn't get along with their friends, but their friends are non-negotiable, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the point is, how did you make them your friend without meeting those friends?
Well, how did you commit?
Yeah, or commit to that person.
Right.
But he said friendship, so I'm thinking this is friend. So as a friend, how did you call this person your friend and you didn't meet all his friends that meant something to them? Like, the first thing we recommend with anybody when we have building sessions, when we're building with our builders, the first thing we explain to them is, it's very important to meet everybody who's a priority in those people's lives.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't get along with them, you're the odd person out at all times. You know what I mean? And if they come to you talking about they want to change their circle, be a part of helping them change it, but don't commit into that circle's change.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're committing to the absolute of what you decided you're going to sign up for. Not saying things aren't going to change, but the whole point is, while they're changing, you're spending more of your time making it the same. So to answer your question, if you don't get along with their friends and their friends is a priority, then you're not a priority.
Right.
So you have to figure it out and move on.
Well, yeah, that's what Jasmine. So going back to the question, Jasmine wrote, I wouldn't change my group of friends or the way we function to suit someone's insecurity or way of life. So if she's leading with that, she's not gonna go any further into a friendship without establishing that.
Definitely. Or when it said, showing up as at your daily best, that means health, communication, a person's principles. She's obviously saying, listen, if you're not committed to being who I met and being who I said I was going to be loyal to, I'm going to sign up with, I'm going to be dedicated and devoted to, then we can't be in a committed relationship. Now, do you get sick? Of course. Things happen, of course. Do you fall in, you get laid off? Things do change in that way. But your attitude and how you go about doing it shouldn't change. And she should have connected to their core values. And that doesn't change no matter what happens, no matter what transpires, because that person is going to have a positive outlook on life. That person is going to be motivated to invest in what's best for the relationship at all times. And that's their motivation. That's their inspiration, So what did you think about what we said about that in that regard, Darrell?
No, I agree. I just wanted to get a different perspective, and I definitely understand that. You start with your core values, you know what I'm saying? And if, if at any time this person doesn't meet the criteria of your core values, then what do you have in the first place? So I definitely understand that.
Lyric, what was you thinking about what we said? Because I know Darrell went and asked a follow-up question. Oh, she's not there, I guess.
Yeah, so
I'm here. Just give me a second, guys. I got an emergency phone call. I'm listening to you guys, though.
Okay.
That's fine. So Jasmine basically said it's absolutely accurate. That's where accountability is big. So one of the number one things that should be discussed as a part is how the relationship will function, or attributes each person has to do. Do you want to be held accountable? That is a big one. If you're dealing with somebody who doesn't want to be held accountable, then you're gonna have a really stressful relationship. And what does accountability look like? Yeah, is accountability, like as you said, like if your answer to everything is I'm human and I make mistakes, and somebody who really truly believes in accountability, those two people are always going to be on the opposite side. So that's really important to discuss. Like, yeah, it sounds good. You want to be accountable, and not to just be negative about it, but yeah, what does accountability mean to you? Doesn't mean the same thing, because then we'll be on the same page. And because like Jasmine said, if you don't have that conversation, then you'll start to resent the person. You start to have resentment and blame the other person, and it becomes an issue.
Yeah, I've been on this person before, so I get that.
Yeah, let's just, me and Jerry just recently had a discussion about, how we just have to be honest with ourselves in general. Like, where do we pull our self-worth from? If we pull our self-worth from helping people, and we are around people that we can't help, and that's where our self-worth comes from, 9 times out of 10, that relationship is you're going to hinder the relationship because you don't feel validated within that relationship.
Yeah.
And it sounds weird, like, oh, well, why do I have to be around helping people? Isn't that codependency? Yeah, I mean, you probably should rethink that. But at the same time, if that's where you get your value from, if you're around somebody who's better at it than you or don't need your assistance in that way, you are going to have a hard time connecting with that person. So a lot of people aren't honest about somebody just being better at it than them, and they're not comfortable with them being better. You know, they're not comfortable with it. Like I always said, I'm not going to an NBA gym to play basketball because I never get the ball. I'm gonna go to the local Y so I can actually get the ball a decent amount of times and get some shots up. You got to be realistic. I'm not an NBA player. I'm not as good as they are. So I don't go and shoot around with them because I'm going out there to play basketball, not to learn how to play basketball. And it's just that simple. So you really have to understand. Lyrics had to leave. She apologizes, but you really have to understand where do you hold your value and what you don't want to adjust, what you don't want to change. And when you're around somebody, if they are a lot better at it, you got to decide if you want to maintain a relationship with that person because you don't feel validated in that relationship. You don't feel like you bring anything to the table. Because in our relationships, what we have to maintain is playing our role and believing in our roles and believing what we bring to those actual relationships. So if we actually bring something to the relationship and we go and your friend goes and gets a friend that brings that same thing to the relationship, you're going to start looking at that friend like, why did you need this friend in this relationship? We already have this covered. It's going to cause friction. And you're going to have a hard discussion. Now, we're not going to say that you're going to not be friends with the other person, but we're going to really have to evaluate what's going on because you're trying to maintain what's going well. You're trying to maintain your championship team. Everybody's looking for change. Change is destroying a lot of our relationships because we're forgetting what made us connect in the first place.
I agree with that.
Yeah. We're not taking time to say, listen, why did we connect? Ask the question, why are we connected? Because I can guarantee if y'all lost focus on why you're connecting, that's why y'all disconnecting. I can guarantee you that. But go ahead, Jerry.
No, I was to say that we see it all the time where you're friends with someone, or well, I'll use the friendship. You're friends with someone and they are connecting, they meet a coworker and they're super cool with that coworker and they have certain things in common and they're bringing the similar things that you bring to their life. They're bringing the same thing. And if you're not confident within that, it breeds insecurity. So it's if you know that if you know that you can't be duplicated, if you know that, yes, this person is fun and they have the same kind of fun and they share the same interests, but if you know that you bring something extra to their life, then it wouldn't even matter. So that's what, the good thing about relationships as well is that you want to make sure that the people that you're around is well-rounded and have people that is going to fill certain areas of their life. It's not just about one particular area. It's just there's a lot of needs that are being met, or a certain amount of needs that are being met, and you feel one piece of it and other people are going to feel other pieces of it, and you have to be comfortable within that as well, knowing that you're a piece of a puzzle basically.
Sometimes you meet somebody that is really cool and really down to earth, excuse me, and you're like, we would be friends if my cup wasn't full.
Yeah, that too.
Like,
yeah.
Be honest. If your cup is full, you're prioritizing your friendships. You work. You have maybe 3 or 4 4 friends. You have a partner, and you don't have time to really dedicate to anybody else. And you don't want to take from the people you already dedicated to. You want to maintain the structure you have because you're happy within that structure. And a person would say you closed off and you're not open to things. A lot of people who are open to things put themselves in bad situations. Once you are happy, focus. That's the whole point. I've never met a person who isn't successful that didn't narrow their focus, that didn't start to focus. So, go ahead.
No, I was going to say that's one of the realest things I've ever heard you say before, because I see myself, and I've been in a situation before where I'm happy, like things are good, but I'm still looking for something else. Still trying to find more happiness on top of me being already happy already. But why? I'm already happy, and then you know, I mean, like you just said, that takes away from other stuff. It takes away your time from other people. But why am I worrying about this over here when over here I'm good in the first place? I think a lot of people do that and don't even realize it.
Definitely. And it's because the promotion of change. Like, we can help our fellow man without sacrificing the people we hold dear. You know, prioritize. You know, your principles come first. So if you see a kid that needs to eat, then obviously, if you're a person of principles of value and you have a strong faith in helping your fellow man, that's something everybody that you enter a relationship with understands about you. So you're going to put that first. That's your priority. You're going to help that kid that is starving, right? Even if you said you was going to go to a movie, you're going to call, you're going to say, listen, there's a kid right here needs to eat. You're going to explain, and they may be disappointed, but they're going to truly understand where you're coming from, because that's your first priority. You had a clear understanding, like, I put my principles first, my faith, my belief first. And that's a belief. I believe help my fellow man. But if you now said, listen, I'm going out with a coworker, even though you promised them to go to the movies, you don't think that they're going to understand that you didn't prioritize them. Mm-hmm. They can compete with something that they know is above them in a priority level, on the priority system. But they're not going to compete with something that, and they're not going to understand, and they don't have to accept something that wasn't a priority, especially if y'all have plans for you to break that. So understand, make sure your basis is covered before you even entertain anything outside of that relationship, because narrowing your focus is what completes you. You know, like, we have obviously Darrell's a sports guy, so, you know, I understand where he's coming from. And we always talk about how the teams that are doing the worst is always changing. They always getting new people on the team. They're forever changing. That's why they're not going anywhere.
And the people
that maintain a system, they keep the same people, sign the same people, maintain the system. Them people are in it for 5 years, 6 years. They know the system inside out, and they run circles around everybody else.
True.
And they wonder why the other team can be so much more talented, and this team just keeps on winning. That's how your team needs to be when it comes to your life. Make sure your team is in order. Spend less time reading self-help books and more time having discussions with your team, because they will show you who you truly are. They will show you what you're truly invested in. If you're constantly pulling from your team, or you constantly have an issue, ask yourself, why do I always have an issue when I have a strong team? Maintain what you have. Work diligently in maintaining what you have, because it's a non-stop thing. It's a daily thing. Go ahead, Jerry.
But also being comfortable with the fact that you do have a team. And so if someone's inviting you someplace and you're like, you know, let me check in, you know, with my friends to make sure we don't have anything going on, the other person is like, what do you mean? Like, you're grown, you know what I mean? And they do the divide and conquer. Absolutely. And a person could be baited and be like, you know what, you're right, I don't need to check in, let's go hang out, you know. Or a secure person would say, you know what, but they're my priority and we usually have plans, so I'm gonna check in with them. You know what I mean? And be okay with that. Be okay with having certain priorities in life and being okay to fight for that. I know we talk about personal relationships all the time here, but it's like being asked to take on more responsibility at work. And you know that that's going to take away from your personal life, and that's going to take away from your family. People at work or your boss may think that you're an underachiever, you don't really want more. You do want more, just not in a corporate setting. You know what I mean? You do want more. You want to spend time with your family. You don't want to take away, you don't want to put in all that extra time and extra work into work when you could be using that time to spend with your family. So it's okay prioritizing certain things, but you need to be comfortable and confident with the choices that you're making, because people challenge, they're gonna, you know, they're gonna judge, and are you okay with that? Are you okay with saying, yeah, you're right, I don't want that job, so I'm not, I want to achieve things in my personal life more than my corporate life. So okay. You're right, I'm not a go-getter here in that regard. So, but being okay and being comfortable actually saying that and sticking to that. We get so sucked into what other people think that sometimes we change our priorities due to that.
Definitely. Even on our platform, even on our mission, we only really want to deal with accountable people. We want to deal with people who are ready to be accountable and really structure their relationships around accountability, where they have accountable relationships. Because obviously we think love is, you can't have love without accountability, without showing up. So that's why we believe accountable love is the only love, because you can't have love without accountability. So we narrow our focus. If you're a person that still is searching for you and you're me, then we're going to tell you, you know, recommend you get a life coach to actually help you maneuver and figure things out for yourself. We're going to help you figure things out for yourself so you can connect with other people, because we understand your support is more valuable than anything else. We always say money is currency. People are currency, not money. If you have the right people in your life, you're always wealthy. You always eat. You always have a roof over your head. You'll always have the support you need if you have the right people. So if you collect the right people, that's currency. Money comes and goes. The right people don't. They're there all the time. So when you think about everything, you really need to understand that. Like we was just talking about the word different and how people use it loosely. And not that, you know, point you out all winter, but I'm going to point you out. She basically said balance, you know, maintain a balance. And anybody that knows us knows, you know, we are a little different. Like we really see balance for what it is. Balance means equal. It means as much bad as much good. You don't want balance. You want 90% good. You want good to be majority. And yeah, you're going to have to figure out, you're going to have to fight through some demons, but you really are working towards 100%.
Hey, Aziz, can you elaborate on that? Because you said something that was interesting. You said, so I understand you say you don't want balance, but that means that but you don't want as much bad and good, like for 50% bad, 50% good. Can you kind of go deeper on that?
What do you mean?
I mean, just kind of like,
as far as your relationships, you want to be clear and where you, like, we recently started our 4th season of our podcast, and let's be clear here is what it's about, right? So being clear, who's your top priority in your life?
You asking me?
Yeah. Who's your top priority in your life?
Right now it would be my son.
Okay. So would somebody else get as much time as your son?
Absolutely not.
Okay. No. That's what I mean. It's not balance. You're being clear about what your percentages are. My priorities are intact. Everybody that enters my life understands my priorities. Anybody that enters anybody's life, people should be clear on their priorities so they understand what's going on. So yeah, if you're balancing things, can you picture a balancing act? Walking down the street with 3 balls, constantly not letting them hit the floor. Can you picture that?
No.
This is what people are promoting. We're promoting being concrete, being clear, making decisions. Leaders don't have a choice not to make decisions. We can't deal with 27 perspectives because we have to make decisions. We can take in each perspective to help us make decisions, but we're about decision making. So you have to be black and white to some degree, even when it's gray. Because even in the gray, you got to find the best practice. In your relationships, in all our relationships, we're leaders in our relationships, right? So you have to find the best practice. But one thing I enjoy what All Winter said as well is boundaries guilt-free. And that's a big one, All Winter. That's a big one. Guilt is the #1 cause of everybody's self-worth depleting. Feeling guilty. Feeling guilty about doing what's best. Everybody's worrying about judging. We would say the opposite. If you're around people who don't want to be judged, run the other way. Because obviously they're doing something that they're not proud of. I never met somebody doing the right thing that's worried about judgment. Never. Never. And if somebody doesn't want to mess with you for your past, find somebody who does. They have the right to choose. It doesn't go one way. How many times you see somebody get turned down and act like that person, they say in one breath, I think everybody should have the right to choose and have their own mind and have their own opinion. But as soon as they get turned down, that person's a slime ball, that person's messed up, they don't have the right to choose. They didn't choose you. Deal with it. That's the reality of it. That's the reality of everything. So when we figure it out, judgment is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. And when you look at it, who's the only one in the courtroom that has the hardest decision? The judge. The judge. Who's the leader in the courtroom? The judge. How many people don't want to be leaders? A whole bunch. You give somebody that seat, they don't want it. That's why they don't want judgment. They want to do what they want, guilt-free. Mm-hmm. But if you're doing the right thing, you don't have to feel guilty. Period. If in your heart you know you're doing the right thing, you don't feel no guilt at all. You keep it moving. So I agree with all of that. Did you feel I elaborated enough?
No, yeah, I was just gonna say, and doing the right thing, maybe doing what's best for you, and you may not be able to connect with another person, and you have to be honest about that as well. Because your boundaries, what the things that you want to hold, that you hold near and dear, that your priorities may not be aligned with somebody else, and you have to be okay with that as well.
Absolutely.
Because when you set them, it's things that they're deal breakers for yourself. So you need to find someone who understands that and believes that as well, and so that you guys could build from there, or know that, you know, when you go in with a list of things that you want, you narrow the pool, you narrow the people that you connect with. And so when you come with a set of principles, when you come with boundaries, you're not going to connect with everyone. And you need to know that going in, and not feel like, oh, I can't connect with anybody. You know why you can't connect with people? Because you have certain things in place, and that's okay, right? Because in order for you to get to the right person, you have those things in place. In order for you to connect with people the right way, the healthy way, the accountable way, you have those things in place. So you should never want to budge on that, but be comfortable not budging, as Winter said, guilt-free. Know that you're not going to connect with everyone.
I mean, really, do you want to? There's people you don't like.
No, probably not.
Like, one thing we always hear all the time is don't judge, but everybody has an ex-friend. Everybody has an ex-partner. That's a judgment. I decided to ex you from my life. That's a judgment. That's a life sentence, actually. So think about it. It's our choice to do so. What we don't want to do is prejudge. Mm-hmm. Let's change our vocabulary. We don't want to prejudge. We don't want to look at somebody and say this is who they are and don't know anything about them. Judgment is getting all the facts and making a decision. Mm-hmm. Period. Yeah. I want to judge all the time. And sometimes I'm not going to even get the facts because I don't have the room to even hear what's going on. But I'm not going to badger that person. I'm just not going to deal with the person. Once that person leaves the room, I'm on to doing what I need to do. We're not going to gossip. So there's a bigger purpose, but the whole purpose is find things that you can maintain. Look in relationships, look at your relationships and see, what do you want to maintain with the people in your life? What don't you want to change? Because that's what's that's the glue to your relationship. Is change inevitable? Definitely. You're going to get older. In some instances, you're going to get skinnier. Some instances, you're going to get fatter. Some instances, you're going to get, less attractive. Some instances, you're going to get wrinkled. You might lose a leg. who knows what's going to happen? That's a guarantee. Change is going to happen. The point is, that's not the backbone of a relationship. The relationship is still finding what you fell in love with, or what you decided you loved about the person in the first place. Because once you can't find it, I can guarantee the relationship's over.
True
and
story.
you're holding on to save face.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're holding on just because the public. If me and Jerry didn't talk no more, we've been accountable love for the last 3 years in the public. That's gonna hurt us to some degree, right? But I guarantee you I'll be the first to know. Because it is what it is. We can't fake it.
Mm-hmm.
Once we have to start faking it, we can't do anything for anybody else. We can't support anybody else. It's about having a strong team. And obviously that's what we talk about. Love is a group journey. That's our practice. You don't get to work without the bus driver. You don't learn anything without your teachers. You don't put out a fire without the firemen. Everybody that says they do it alone, they're vain. And that's where they get their self-worth. Saying I created a war and won the war. Why create the war? Right? Ask somebody to watch your children so you can go out one night a week. It's okay. You're not a bad parent. You're asking somebody to support you so you can be a better parent. That's what it's about. You see a lot of drained people because they refuse to ask for help. You see a lot of drained people because they want change, like you said. Their heads is always turning, looking outside of the window when everything they need is inside the house.
Mm.
If it's not, be honest with the people around you. Because the only time you need change is when you need to move on.
Mm.
So I want everybody to truly think about that and truly think about what it means to maintain a relationship. Because relationships are all about stability. We have too much change. That's why we built the relationships. That's why we build the bond. So with our eyes closed, we know we touching the right person. We know we smelling the right person. When we can't hear, we know we seeing the right person. We know blindly there's people working for us without us even seeing them. If you have a wife that cooks while you at work, you know dinner's on the table. You have a husband that's dedicated, you know he might have got cursed out at work, but he didn't jeopardize his job because of his ego. Because he knew he had to come home and support our family. You know you have accountable people. If you have a friend that is telling you you're going in the wrong direction and willing to say all the harsh things to you to get you on the right path, they're not sugarcoating it. They're not telling you what you want to hear. They're telling you what you need to hear. Grip them tight. They're your allies, even though they challenge you to your wits' end. But it's what you want to maintain. You know that they're there. And you know that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And you know they're dedicated to the things they said they dedicated to. That's what it's all about. So we always got to remember love is a group journey. We always got to remember relationship is all about stability, not change. So anytime you enter, if you don't have many relationships around you, you don't have many relationships you're entering, I mean, you're entering relationships and you're interested in entering relationships, start with the things you like about the person, the things you can fall in love with about the person, and see if you can maintain it for a lifetime. Because everything else you can get through if those things are maintained. But make sure those things are core values, things that are hard to change. Like Darrell said, loyalty. Like Lyric said, respecting my boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Like Jasmine said, don't forfeit my team just to be a part of my life. Like All Winter said, show up every day, trying to be your best, even if you feel you're not at your best. She's saying I could sign on for that. It shows you have will, it shows you have strength. Darrell said I could sign on for loyalty because I know you're there even when I can't see you. You know, Jasmine said, I have a team. You can be a part of that team if you put in the work, but I'm not lessening my team to make you feel better about you.
Right. Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm saying. Those are the things that make a person who they are. Stop looking for other things that make you who you are. Addictions don't make you who you are. Growing up in the projects don't make you who you are.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in the household you was in don't make you who you are. Holding on to your bad habits don't make you who you are. What makes you who you are is the core of what you believe that's actually going to enhance the people around you. An enhancement makes you who you are, not a disadvantage. A disadvantage is what you need to change. But a person shouldn't be comfortable with you until you make those changes.
Mm.
Don't date an addict still going through recovery. Date somebody who already recovered and promise you they'll never go back. That's who they are. An ex-addict. They're never an addict. They're an ex-addict.
Mm-hmm.
If they're in your life and you're about being positive. If they slip, judge them.
And they should want to be judged, actually.
Definitely.
Yeah, they should want to be held accountable. No doubt.
Absolutely.
100%.
So think about it. If you have people in your life that have great attributes and you never want to change and you could depend on, don't try to change them because one day you walk in and you want to do what you want to do when you want to do it. They're going to hold you accountable because you doing what you want to do is taken from who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And we all should hold on to who we are, enhance each other through who we are. We all have a role. We all play a role. Identify that role you play in that person's life and provide that role for the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
Identify the role they play in your life and hold them accountable to provide that for the rest of their life. But, you know, we have 8 minutes left. And I know, you know, I get into my modes, but I just love teaching accountable relationships. And, you know, and Jerry, sometimes I just ask you out. Sometimes.
I know. I was
we
like,
love, excuse me, we love. I'm talking in I, right? There I go talking in I.
You was going. So I was just like,
you know, cut me off by all means.
What you're saying is good, is makes sense. And you said it best. And I don't really need to necessarily add on to it. But yeah, people run from stability because it's boring. But stability is what we need for true growth. And like Aziz said, having blind faith to know that the people that we're around are doing exactly what we signed them up for, that I wouldn't say signed up, that we agreed to have them around for.
Definitely.
allows you to be as close as you need to be with that person, allows you to be vulnerable with that person, allows you to be transparent with that person. So as boring as it may be for some people, stability, doing the same thing every day is what's needed.
And if anybody that tells you that's boring,
yeah,
they really don't have.
That should be a red flag, actually.
Definitely. They don't have the stability because
yeah,
when you're doing great things, people are always throwing rocks and stones at you. Mm-hmm. You got to spend a lifetime blocking them. There's nothing boring about that. I tell you that. So you always know that you got to prevent the outside world from destroying what you have. So you're never going to be bored. And when you sign on for something you enjoy, you never have an issue coming home to a nice house.
Mm-hmm.
Never. You have an issue coming home to a dirty house. We all get tired of it, right? Let's be clear here. If you came home to a clean house every day, a meal cooked every day, or looked forward to cooking a meal every day, you know, people you love every day, met up with people you loved every day, text people you loved every day, how are you bored? You have similar interests. Y'all always finding new things to do with each other. that fulfill those interests. Y'all don't even have time to even pay attention to other people because you're so busy focused on enhancing each other's lives. Mm-hmm. That's the maintenance. That's the beauty of maintaining a relationship. That's the beauty of it. Now, for all the people that's saying, well, it sounds like a fantasy world because that doesn't really happen in real life. And I would say you're settling because it does happen in real life. Bills do need to get paid. We are struggling, but I see people struggling and still laughing, joking, smiling, enjoying each other's company, eating peanut butter and jelly sandwiches because they are around the people they want to be around. Playing spades, throwing barbecues. They find things to do and scrap the money together to make sure they have what they need. So don't tell us people aren't currency. But at the end of the day, man, just maintain the stability of relationships. If you have a great relationship, invest everything into it. If you lost somebody that was great, give them a call. Call them up, apologize for your end, start the discussion, and build that relationship back up. Because I'm telling you, having great people in your corner is what life's about. And once y'all 20, 30 years in, and you know you lose your eyesight, and you know that person's there to assist you through the world until you can walk through by yourself, you realize all of what you invested in. Make those calls, build those relationships, have accountable relationships, and don't look back. I know we shifted a few people's mentality here, but it's all about accountable relationships. So any other relationship you see, you might start looking at them different.
Yeah.
Because we do change mentalities here. We want you to understand that you're in control of everything and every relationship you enter. You decide. The reason why we focus on children and accountable parenting, because you made that decision. You chose to have children. The reason why we focus on friends, because you made a choice to make them your friend. The reason why we focus on spouses is because you chose to make that person your spouse. The reason we don't really truly focus on family, because you didn't choose that, unless they're your friends. Or unless you built your family through your kids. And even when your kids get older, you have to understand that they're going to have their own friends and they might come or call you once in a while because they're not your friends. Your friends are your friends. Your spouse is your spouse. Raising children is your leadership role that you decided to do for a lifetime. So with that being said, Jerry, handle your business.
Well, thank you guys for joining our first Let's Talk of 2021. And if you didn't get a chance to share, please share on Facebook. If you guys are not friends with us on Facebook, please look for us, LoveSnobs or Love is a Group Journey on Facebook, and follow us. We have blogs, we have updates, and you'll see the webinar sign up sheet on there as well. Again, we're going to be on every other week. We're going on for an hour. Don't be afraid. We had a lot of attendees on the side, and you guys are cool there, but I hope that we'll see you one day on the video chat. So hope to see you guys in 2 weeks.
And if you need support, visit, loveisagroupjourney.com for, sessions. We have accountable parenting sessions. We have one-on-one sessions. We have friends investment sessions. We have couple investment sessions, and, start working on your relationships. And we're there to partner with you and assist you on your journey because we want you to have the support necessary. So, enjoy.
Bye, guys.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, enjoy.